Hey everybody, welcome back. Every video, the date gets more disastrous.
Would you care if I holler at other while we're here?
Taste me. I don't feel any pain.
I want to paint you naked.
Put a finger down if you...
I'm not gonna put a finger down. Every time someone says
Put a finger down.
I literally will like put this finger up. I fucking hate this trend. Tell the story.
Put a finger down if you decided to get back on Hinge because you wanted to start dating again. You took a minute off and kind of was just like, you know, making friends and vibing or whatever and not focusing on that. And you just decided, you know what, I'm going to get back on Hinge. You matched with someone, typically not your type, but still handsome. And I felt like he would probably look better in person, which he did. He looked awesome in person. His profile said he was 6 foot, but he wasn't 6 foot. He was 5'9". Something like that. Okay, so you're talking on the phone. You guys are vibing out, and he suggests a date. So he suggests to do an art gallery, and I'm like, okay, period. Like, I'm down with that. Just to go see some art, talk, vibe. Not anything super loud, you know, whatever. We just catch a vibe. So I'm like, okay, nice. We get on the phone. Talk some more, and he's like, oh, where do you live? I'm like, oh, I live so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, you're super close to me. You're literally like 5 minutes away from me. And I'm like, okay, period. We're close to each other. He's like, okay, I'll come and pick you up. And I was like, okay, boom, period. Like, we love a gentleman. So I'm getting ready, whatever. He's like, I'm here. I go downstairs. He's standing outside waiting for me. So I walk up to him and I give him a hug. Like I said, obviously he's not 6 foot, but I'm like, okay, he's actually really handsome in person. He pulled up in a little hoopty, which is fine. I mean, it is what it is. So I walk over. I'm thinking he's going to open up the door for me. No, he doesn't. But then as I realize, I reach to open up the door and the fucking handle doesn't work. Okay. So I'm like, okay, no, biggie, it is what it is. He gets in the car, boom, opens it from that side. It is what it is. We're cool. We vibing. I get in the car, I sit down, and we're driving. He gives me the aux. I put on an aux. I play him a little jam. He's like, oh, I like this song. I'm like, yeah, I like this song too. Woo, 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 woo. So we pull up to the art gallery, and we notice that it's a kind of outdoors and indoors. And I noticed someone that I've matched with previously on a different app, and I was like, thinking in my head, like overthinking it, like should I be respectful and say like, oh, I've matched with this person, so if this person comes up to me, like, you know, he knows what it is to not make it awkward. So in my mind, I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing. So I'm like tapping him on the shoulder, and I was like, oh, I'm like, I just seen someone that like I've matched with. So just a heads up, like if this person comes up to me, like, I don't want you to feel weird or anything like that, because, you know, I don't know what's going on. And he just looks at me, gives me a side eye. Whole demeanor changes.
Ooh. Okay, I mean, not necessarily my first choice. Nobody wants to know that you're dating a bunch of other people. Like, I'm just saying, like, we know, you're beautiful, like, he's handsome. Everybody's dating multiple people, especially on a dating app. But, like, let's not talk about our other escapades on our dates. Like, let's not go there. Just saying. He's still cute.
And I'm like, okay. We get out the car, and as we're walking up, he's like, oh, if you want to, you can go and talk to him. And I was like, no, I'm not going to obviously make an extra effort to talk to this man when it's really not that serious. Like, I'm here with you and we're here to vibe. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then he starts giggling and I'm like, okay, here we go. So we walk in. Mind you, he's like not talking to me. He starts walking ahead of me, walking in front of me, goes inside, like literally leaves me. And I'm walking around just like trying to enjoy the art. But also I'm like, I'm sober, first of all. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of awkward. Like, I don't want to be like, you know, all weird or whatever. But he leaves, walks in front of me, pretty much does his whole round before me, and then comes out and says, okay, I want to leave. And I'm like, okay, what the f-? I didn't really get to, you know, like I walked around, but like, you know, we didn't, there's a bar here. And he kept saying like, I don't drink. And I'm like, okay. As we're leaving, because he says he wants to leave, we're leaving. And he's like, we can go somewhere else. And I was like, okay, cool. He's like, are you sure you don't want to say bye to homeboy? And I'm like,
oh.
Really, sir? So I'm like, you know what? I can already tell that this is already going to be, it's going to be a dub because it's not giving what it's supposed to give. So we head to the second bar. We get there and it's like a pub. So it's like a huge bar. I get to the bar. I'm ordering the drink. I turn around. This motherfucker is gone.
Oh.
I'm looking around like, what the fuck?
Oh.
So I'm like, you know what? Okay, period. Like, it is what it is. I'm just going to sip on my drink, threw back my shot.
Oh, he left you there.
And I'm guessing he just did a roundabout to see who's around and who's there.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I guess. So then after that, We start talking about our lives and our careers and stuff. A lot of it does not line up, like, at all. After a while, after we start talking, he's like, oh, you seem like you'd be like a cool homie. And I was like, okay, boom, you're setting the motherfucker.
Yeah, period.
I'm like, okay, it is what it is. But then throughout the rest of the date, I'm like getting mixed signals. Like, he wants to talk and he doesn't want to talk. And like, he's asking me about my life goals and things. And I'm like, okay, like, do you want to f me or are we just homies? So we get to this hot dog place. We end up splitting a hot dog. I buy myself another drink. So I'm like, I need to, you know, keep this going. And I'm like, okay, maybe after this hot dog, because he was definitely giving me a vibe of like, I'm trying to wrap this up. So I'm like, okay, let's wrap it up. So we leave the hot dog place and he's like, oh, is there any other bars that you would want to go to? And I'm like, you said that you don't stay out that late and you don't drink. So I'm like, well, what is there to do? And he was like, oh, we can just go and stop somewhere else. I was like, okay, boom. Well, there's this spot that I really like to go to. It's a speakeasy. It's fun. Music is bomb. Sometimes it's a lot of people, but not too crazy. And he's like, okay, boom, let's go. We pull up. This man looks me dead in my face and said, would you care if I holler at other while we're here?
Stop!
And I was like, you know what? My immediate response was like, no, obviously
The
I don't give a shit. You're
audacity!
single. Like, you can literally do whatever the f you want to do. He goes to the bar, orders a drink. And I'm like, I thought you don't drink.
Oh!
Anyways, bull. He comes up to me. He's like, I want to go. And I was like, okay, well, he could just take me home. So he can just drop me off at home. So we get in the car and we're about to leave. And he's like, oh, where else should we go? I'm like, bro, it's getting late. You just said you don't stay out late. And my stupid ass still continued the date. So he ends up driving to the other place. And mind you, my place is like right in between and we're right around the corner from my place. So I'm like, hey, like, can I stop here just to use the restroom really quick and then we can go? He's like, okay, well, if we stop to use the restroom and we get to the bar, can you Uber yourself home? And I'm like, Uber myself home? I'm like, you literally, in my mind, I was like, you literally just told me that we live close to each other. Now all of a sudden, I was like, you know what, girl, what is happening right now? So I just tell him like, you know what, I'm gonna leave. And he looks at me all confused, like, wait, why? And I'm like, cause like, I can just tell already that this is not, like, you not feeling it, I'm not feeling it, whatever the case may be, like, we might as well just end this shit. And then he's like, wow, okay, whatever, flips the U-turn, drops me off, and I'm like, all right, bro, have a good day. Have a good night.
It's like he wanted you to be his wing woman or something. I'm not going to put a finger down. I'm not going to, sorry. That is original experience. No, it's not actually. It's actually not. He wanted you to like be his wing woman. It's always funny when like you kind of decide that you're not really interested or he's not interested, or maybe he says something like, oh yeah, we should just be friends. And then it's like, to me, when you're saying let's just be friends, it's like, it's not the vibe. I'm not interested. In which case, sorry, I have enough friends. I don't need another one. But there was actually a dude I was seeing one time that like was a little weird. Like he was a little weird. He was the type of person that like would take the aux cord and like not let you pick a song, you know? But not only would he not let you pick a song, because he was like, you know, in his mind, like kind of a DJ, he wouldn't let you pick a song. And then when he was playing a good song, he would stop the song halfway through and play a different song, like right when we're starting to enjoy it. I'm like, absolutely not. Nope. You are not only an aux hog, but you also just like switch up the track whenever we're enjoying it. No, we cannot be friends. Sorry. But this dude was really, really set on the idea of being my friend and being like in our friend group. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm honestly good. I thought you meant like, let's be friends as like a, okay, this isn't the vibe. I'll like, best of luck to you. Have a nice day. Not like, yes, no, like, let's hang out next weekend. I'm good. No, I'm good. No. I have enough friends, honestly. Like, I can barely keep track of the friends I already have. They're already pissed off at me because I never see them. Friend, this went on so much longer than it had to. Like, yeah, for realsies. Like, it, come on. Oh my goodness. You know, I would like to say that I'm better. Like, I would do things differently, but sometimes confusing and like people are lonely and bored and like we ignore obvious red flags and like weird people saying weird things and we don't go home when we should. You should have said nothing, sis. You owe him no explanation on a first date. Literally, period. Like, I'm sorry. That was my first instinct. You don't need to tell him anything. You don't need to say, oh, you know, I was seeing this person, blah, blah, blah. Like, I understand you're trying to be respectful, but he's not your boyfriend, okay? So, Not like you really lost that great of like a person by saying that. Like it didn't really matter in the end, but like there's no need to like talk about your other dates while you're on a date. Like unless that person comes up to you and starts acting weird, which they won't because you're on a date with somebody else. Telling you right now, they're not gonna come up to you. Just don't talk about it. Don't mention it. So that was like not as bad as it could have been, but it was pretty bad. Can we do worse?
I think so.
Put a finger down if you want on a date with a guy that you met at the gym and he takes you to Dave & Buster's and he's super sweet and nice and respectful. So you go on a second date with him, he takes you bowling, super fun, sweet, nice. Date ends early, he doesn't want to stop hanging out with you. You don't want to invite him back to your place, but you willingly go to his place, even though you don't really know him that well. And you're sitting at his place next to him in the dark and you guys are talking and you having a taser comes into conversation and he tells you to tase him and you're like, what? And he tells you, tase me, I don't feel any pain. And you're like, what do you mean? Were you not born with any pain receptors? And he goes, no, I was. I'm just a celestial, so I don't feel any pain. And you're like, come again?
A celestial?
What does that mean? And he
fuck
tells
is
you
that?
that a celestial means that he is an angel in a human's body. And you're like, okay,
Oh,
is that like the TV show Lucifer?
okay.
And he goes, oh yeah, they just didn't get everything right. And you're like, what do you mean they didn't get everything right? And he goes, Lucifer actually goes by Satan.
Oh.
And that the daddy issues part is real.
So
And
we
you're
know
like,
each
oh,
other.
okay.
You guys know each other?
So you guys are
Got it.
brothers?
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
says, yes.
Oh, got it.
And then you ask him if he has wings and if he can fly. And he says yes. And you're like, okay, can I see them?
Oh.
And then he goes, well, I can't pop them out on command, but if we go to a rooftop, I can show them to you. And then the first thing that comes to your mind when he says that
Do
is that
it.
he is going to himself, you, or the both of you. So you're like,
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
then
Wait.
He tells you that he's not actually 25, that he was born in the time AD. You know, there's BC and AD. He was from the time AD. So you're like, oh, okay, so you're like 2,000 something years old. And he's like, yeah, I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around there. So you're like, okay. Then he tells you that if you guys had a baby, that baby would be a celestial. Then he tells you that he was brought on this earth to protect you specifically.
Uh-huh.
And then he says that you can become a celestial too, and then tries to bite your arm.
Oh. Oh.
Then he tells you that he's going to get in big trouble for telling you all of this because you're not supposed to know this because he's supposed to be the angel protecting you. And then he makes you promise not to tell this story to anybody. He tells you, he pinky promises.
I won't tell
While
anyone.
he's telling you, he starts laughing and he says, before you even tell anyone, I will already know. And that creeps you out. But you're like, okay. And almost forgot to mention, anytime that he was telling you and talking to you about this, he was getting really close to your face and it didn't look like him. It looked like an actual demon. Anyway, he takes you home and he shows you, pulls out a triangular knife. The blade is
Ooh.
triangular and there's a red rope wrapped around the handle.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
And he tells you, want to take a guess who gave me this? And you say, oh,
Satan?
Satan. And he goes, yep.
Oh,
He gave this to me
course.
to protect me from his demons. And you're
Right.
like, oh, I thought you guys were buddies. And he goes, no, yeah, but his demons like to not listen to him. And you're like, okay. You go home and you know you're never going to see this man again, ever again. A week later, you decide to tell your best friend. And as soon as you tell her, he calls you up. And he just says, hey, how are you? How have you been? What's up? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Okay. Right? Then tell
Maybe he
another
was.
friend a few days later, and he calls you immediately after you tell that story. Same thing. Hey, how are you? How have you been? Mind you, he never calls you, ever. A few months go by, and you're on FaceTime with your mom, and you're telling her this story, and you're on the 26th floor, and it's night, it's clear skies, and a big cloud just comes surrounding your floor-to-ceiling windows apartment, and only on your floor, right? Then a few more months go by, and you get invited to a gym opening, and this is the pre-opening. They're only inviting influencers. He is not an influencer. You're at the gym pre-opening. You're telling one of your friends this story. 5 minutes later, he walks up to you. Comes out of nowhere. Walks up to you. Says, hey, how have you been? And walks away. And a year goes by. And you go on a date with another guy. And you go bowling. And this reminds you of this guy. So you tell him the story of what happened. And as soon as you tell this story, the machine in your bowling lane stops working. And the guy you're on a date with freaks out and he leaves. And now, anytime you tell this story, something always happens.
So what happened after you told this story to the entire, oh, you're shaking. You're shaking. You're literally shaking. Hang on 1 second. Your hand was shaking, right? Look at that. Look at your hand. Okay, girl. I'm a little scared. Sorry, I just spat everywhere. I'm scared. Wait. What happened after you told the entire world this story? I'm a little concerned. What happened? Are you okay? So now that you've told the whole internet update immediately, yes, can we get some signs of life, please? I see you are not in this comment section. Did you respond? Now this is an original experience. I did not, in fact, put any fingers down. There were no fingers being put down. So, burning question though, was he cute? It doesn't matter! It doesn't matter! It does a little bit, you know? I'm concerned. I am very concerned. I'm just gonna double check to make sure that she posted since then. Hang on. 3 days ago. Okay, we're good. I had to know. I'm sorry. I just had to check just to make sure. Okay, I was worried. Don't lie to me. You were a little worried too, okay?
Okay, pardon me looking so disheveled and sweaty, but I just rage walked home after lasting 10 minutes on a date. And I'm reeling, and I know that I need to like be taking care of myself right now, but this feels like taking care of myself. And this is the first time I've ever walked out on a date after being made to feel incredibly uncomfortable. And I think it's really important that I share this. So I've been trying to like not chit chat, pen pal with people before meeting them because I find I like create this false idea of who they are in my head. And then it's like really devastating when it doesn't work out. So meeting quickly is the way to go. However, it causes problems when you cannot adequately vet someone before meeting them. So this guy comes to pick me up at my house. I know, bad idea, but whatever, I did it. I've done worse, so it was fine. He came to pick me up at my house and he was very nice. We kind of like flirted a little bit along our walk to get gelato. And then we sit down with our gelato. And actually before this, it was like quite pleasant. You know, we were chatting. He was being flirty for sure. I was flirting back. It was nice. We got distracted like while ordering gelato, being a little flirtatious, and like that was super nice. So I was like getting a good vibe. Then we sit down. We sit down at a park nearby and start the usual like, where are you from? How many siblings do you have? Except this time he jumped right into hobbies, which whatever, I like hobbies. So I was like, oh, like I noticed you paint. I noticed you paint on your profile. I noticed that. And he was like, yes, I like to, like, I want to paint you naked. Pardon? We just met. So I tried to like laugh it off because we were joking about Titanic.
Stop laughing
like,
it off.
Okay, maybe this is just like nerves coming out.
Bestie. Did the light just turn off? Just so that everybody's clear. I know we're a different color now. The minute that they make any sort of sexual innuendo, you leave. You block. You say bye-bye. Okay? They're testing the waters. They don't respect you. Stop making excuses. Stop laughing it off.
So I tried to like laugh it off.
Don't.
And I was like, you know, I usually wait, you know, a few dates before getting painted naked. Like, to me, that was like a subtle but clear indication that I was not comfortable with where this conversation was going, especially since we just met 10 minutes ago. Nope, didn't catch on to that. He continues. He asks, like, I saw you're artistic. Maybe you want to draw me naked. And I was like, actually, I don't draw. And like I said, we just met. So I'm not going to do that after meeting for 15 minutes. And like, maybe let's move it along. Then he asks me, what do you do before bed? I know exactly where this is going. Dude, do you think I was born yesterday? I know where this is going. So I said, I read. I read before bed. No phone time because it keeps me up. I read, and then I go to bed. Shoo, honk shoo. I honk shoo. That's it. Nothing else. You know what he says to me? He says, he says it just like that. And I was like,
why are you still there, babes? Leave the date.
I was like, oh, you know, we just met. This is where things start getting, I start losing my poker face and I'm like picking at my gelato and I'm like, we just met and you're telling me you every night before bed? And he's like, well, what, don't you? And I was like, that's actually none of your business because we just met. I also don't need to know that you twiddle your pinky every night before bed. I don't need to know that when we just met. And he's like, oh, well, I'm just telling you about myself. And
we don't care.
I'm just
we don't want to know
like,
that.
I'm just telling you all of these things that I do. Like as if he said, I play basketball, I play tennis, I paint, and I like in that order. And I was like, you know what? That's fine that that's what you do. But it would be cool if you like were picking up what I was saying, that it was making me uncomfortable. Then he asked, are you Catholic? Do you pray? To imply that
end this date,
must
yes.
be because I'm religious, and that's why I'm not feeling what he's talking about. And I said, nope, I don't pray. I'm not religious. I'm not Catholic. I just don't want to hear about your in the first 15 minutes that we've spoken.
Period.
And then he's like, well, how long does it take to get to know someone? Like 2 days? Essentially implying like, how long is it going to be for us to sleep together? So here's what I did. I said, you know what? I don't think this is working. I'm going to go.
Good.
And he was like, okay, go home. I'm French, go home. So I get up with my gelato. I strut my stuff. Actually, you know what? Before this, I said, you know what? On a first date, I don't want to be asked to be drawn naked, and I don't want you to tell me how you met every night. And I said that very loudly, super loud.
Good.
And he was looking around. So I'm like, you know what you're saying is inappropriate.
Period. Because if he didn't think that that was embarrassing, he was obviously embarrassed by you telling everyone what he said, right? So why is it not embarrassing for him to talk about that right away? Like, how would that not be embarrassing for you?
So yeah, I pick up my gelato. I walk to the garbage can. I whip it into the garbage. Ooh. And I power walk my way to 7-Eleven to get some cigarettes because I was going to quit, but I cannot quit today. I wish that I'd walked out on so many more dates that went this way. Mm-hmm. I really, really do. And as much as I like wanted it to go well, wanted it to be nice because I think I look freaking cute.
You look cute as hell, babe.
I power walked home. It's important to protect how you want to be treated by
Period.
people. And maybe that would have been fine for someone else. And, you know, I've had dates where it's like, we're just hooking up and like, it's cool to be right away. This was not one of those. This was a proper date. Whatever. This was a date that like, I'm looking for my person and it says that on my bio. Know your worth, know what you will put up with, and leave when they're not respecting you.
Period. That's what's up. And that's why there's no point in continuing the conversation because they're either going to do it again and make you uncomfortable again. They're going to double down. They're going to be mad that you rejected them, etc. So you just cut it off. You cut it off. Okay? There's a time and a place for that kind of talk. And if you're openly dating to find your person and people still talk to you that way, I'm sorry. They're just wasting your time. You look so cute, bestie, and I'm so glad that you have these standards for yourself. I'm sorry that that date didn't go the way you wanted it to. But honestly, judging by your attitude, you won't be single for very long if you want to be in a relationship. But it sounds like you do. I have a lot of single friends who like just genuinely don't seem to understand how important it is to stop allowing that kind of energy, you know? Like literally stop entertaining it. Stop laughing it off. Stop, oh, it's a joke, it's whatever. No, it's not. It's quote unquote grooming to see if you are, you know, down. If that's how he starts the conversation, that's how he wants to end the conversation. And it's always the same friends too. Like I look at their like text messages with these dudes and it's always the same thing. And like, just stop it, block them immediately. Oh God, the pictures too. When they ask for a pic, don't ever send a spicy pic, ever. You know, I actually saw someone explain this to me that was perfect. If someone asks you for a spicy pic, pretend that they are in jail. They're in jail asking you for a picture.
I went on a date recently and it was so freaking good until he sent me this stupid text and it pisses me off. To give the briefest of brief backstories, it was a first date. I haven't had this chemistry with someone in years, all right? So I am freaking stoked. I get home from the date. He texts me, thanks for a good time. You're beautiful. We're off to a good start. Okay. He says, seriously though, thanks for the conversation. I had a good time. And I was like, I did too. I'll see you tomorrow. Because it was so good that we planned to see each other the next night.
Wow.
And this is where it goes off. He says, I was going to ask for a spicy photo, but I thought that would cross the line. What?
It would.
Like,
it would.
What? How did we get here? How did we get to a spicy photo? Nothing happened in this date that would hint at a spicy photo. So, and then he says, new text, good night, beautiful woman, with a kissy face. I respond, ew. Did I just waste my time with an F-boy? And he says, what is that? And I said, someone who just wants to F. And then he says, LOL, not me. I think you gotta know me pretty well. What? I also can't
Actions
believe
speak
he's never
louder than
heard of the term
words.
F-boy. He is a little older than me. He's 41. I'm 31.
He's a 41-year-old
So, I don't know.
F-boy.
Maybe he hasn't heard of that term. But, like, what else am I supposed to think? Like, you are asking me for the photos. You're asking me for the photos without asking me for the photos. Like, I'm not stupid. I wasn't born yesterday.
What I don't understand about this is like, this is so unbelievably personal, right? It is so unbelievably personal to ask someone to send a picture like that, especially in this day and age when pictures like that get leaked, pictures like that get shared around. I'm sorry, don't ever send someone a photo like that, even if you trust them, because maybe their phone could get hacked. Maybe someone can steal their phone. Maybe their girlfriend will see it in the future and wonder why they have this picture. Like, just never do it. What I don't understand is like, they are totally willing to have that kind of personal exchange with someone, but then when it comes to actually committing, it's like, no. Too much emotion, too personal. Isn't that kind of like, isn't like sex like really personal? Like, are we not supposed to be like not doing that with people that we don't really know? Like, sorry, am I just not understanding this properly?
It was one date. One date.
Yeah, that's gross.
I don't respond to that text because I went from a high to a low. I'm pretty pissed. The next morning, he texts me, good morning, Sophie. And I say, good morning, crazy. And he says, me? And I said, I'm not gonna lie. The spicy photo comment really rubbed me the wrong way. I think we're looking for different things.
Too.
He responds, I was just having fun.
Not fun.
My fault. I apologize. I'm looking for the same thing as you, and I did have a good time with you. Anyways, he's apologizing. I canceled the date for that night, because once I'm in a mood, it's done. So I didn't tell him that's why I was canceling. I said that my schedule got crazy, and that I'm not going to be able to hang out. So he's still trying to take me out on his second date. And take me on a real date to make it up to me. Now, do we give him that chance? No. The only thing that's making me consider it is that our chemistry was so good, and it's been really hard for me to find a connection like that.
Remember what I told you, bestie? Pretend he's in jail. He's in jail and he wants a pic of you to put on the wall. It's the I'm absolutely serious unless you're offended, in which case I was just joking.
No, of course I want the same things as you.
They're just gonna mold to whatever they think that you want, and then once they get it, they'll leave you high and dry. Most of them. More often than not. It's better to just move along. Character over chemistry. It's going to get worse. Run for the hills. If there's one thing that I learned that I know for sure, you can have really, really good chemistry with someone, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're right for you, okay? If they have good chemistry with you, chances are they're just like a people person. They have good chemistry with a lot of people. It doesn't mean that like,
Oh, this chemistry means that this is like my person.
and like, this is like, this special thing that we have. More often than not, they have that special thing with other people. It's just rare for you to experience it. Character, however, and if a person shows you their character, believe them.
Subscribe!